Hello, and long time no speak. How's everyone doing? Uh, Lots of things have happened over the last few months, and it's been an absolute roller coaster to say the least. But it's now looking like I'll be able to make some pretty awesome announcements in the coming weeks and months. We've got so much planned that we'll be making numerous announcements over the next few months. We've been talking to just some amazing people, planning things with some amazing people in the space. So all I'm going to say is watch this space. But for now, I'm back with this one-off special. Yes, I'm sorry. It's just a one-off special for now with Julian at Relay, just to tease you a little. And I hope you all enjoy this one because it was awesome speaking to him.
It drives me nuts, and I also didn't really know how old they are. I knew that these people that are ruling the financial world are old, but I also didn't know that Biden is 80. He is 80 years old.
And he is running the most powerful country in the world with the most powerful currency in the world. Hello, and welcome to the Bitcoin Collective podcast. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, and I'm excited about this one. This is Julian Liniger, and he is the CEO and co-founder of Relay. Welcome.
Hi, Jordan. Thank you very much.
Thank you for replying to my DMs and saying you'll come on the show.
Of course, I usually do reply to all the DMs if they're not like some scam or some sales pitch. So yeah, thank you for getting in touch and helping to spread the word about Bitcoin and Relay.
Awesome, man. Cool. Right, let's start. I'm going to start away from Bitcoin. We're not going to touch on that to begin with, and then we'll move slowly into Bitcoin. So what's your backstory? A little bit about you. Who are you as a person? How did you end up where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Julian, as you said before. I'm a Swiss entrepreneur. So I'm born and raised here in Switzerland. Yeah, I just, I am 30 now, and I touched on Bitcoin first time in 2015. So it's a bit, for quite some time, I already was interested in it personally and then also professionally. But from the beginning, I started in I was born in a very small town, like 1,000 people probably, here in the middle of Switzerland in the canton of Bern. And I did like the whole normal school thing. I went then to Biel, which is a bit of a bigger city, where I did my gymnasium. And then I went to Bern for my studies. I did a bachelor in psychology and a master in business administration. So Bern is again a bit bigger city, but all still in the same canton. And then first time I left my canton, which is like we have 26 different cantons, like regions in Switzerland. And the first time I left there was for my first job in management consulting after my studies in Zurich. So that's how I ended up in Zurich. Obviously, like the financial district and the economic capital of Switzerland. The actual capital is Bern, where I studied before. And then, I just wanted to be professionally also active in Bitcoin very early on. So after I did an exchange semester in Silicon Valley, close to Silicon Valley, I came back and I said, I want to be an entrepreneur, and Bitcoin is what fascinates me most. So that's where I started to start companies in this area. Now I have started one company, an advisory or consulting company, where we advise banks and financial service providers on that, but I'm not really active anymore there. And then also the leading educator for crypto finance for the banking sector here in Switzerland. It's called CCFE. That's also something I co-founded, but I'm not operationally involved anymore as well. So now, obviously, the third and most exciting one is Relay, the Bitcoin-only on-ramp in Europe, made in Switzerland, which I co-founded around about 3 years ago.
Wow. And where where did the fascination, or where was the first touch point? Because everyone has different like first interactions with Bitcoin. So where was yours, and where did that fascination for it come from?
Yeah, I know exactly where this was. It was in the living room of a friend of mine when we were both studying. He was studying, computer science, so he was a techie, and I was studying then psychology, and after it, business administration. So I was not a techie at all. But I was always fascinating about like what he would tell me about new technologies, a lot about gaming, about the dark net, and all that kind
Yeah.
of freaky tech stuff. And one of these things then at one point when we sat in his living room was Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So he showed me, this is kind of these are assets, or this is kind of money that you can trade 24/7 and send around the world without any government, without any bank, without any third party. It's just basically money or assets that live on the internet. And I thought, like, wow, how is this even working? Like, I was aware of stocks and banks and trading and kind of how this works, but I was fascinated that there's some technology that makes this possible only without the internet and a phone. And you don't need any bank anymore. I thought this could be very disruptive. But I always looked at it from a more business and economics perspective or human perspective, because that was all I knew. I never knew about technology. Still to that day, I'm not very good in technology at all. But this was the first time it sparked my interest, and so because it was too complicated for me, through him, I then bought my first Bitcoin. And so he bought it for me. I gave him the cash, and he bought it for me, and he held it for me. And then I sold it again, actually, like half a year later, because I made a bit of profit, and I thought I was the smartest guy in the world. But I never lost interest. And, actually, then 2017, I kept reading about it. But beginning of 2017, then I really did a deep dive and learned. But within a couple of months, I learned everything I could. I listened to every podcast and everything. So just basically the typical rabbit hole story. Fell down the rabbit hole, and since then I'm buying Bitcoin, DCAing in Bitcoin, and almost working in Bitcoin as well. So 1 year later, then in 2018, I started really to work in Bitcoin.
Oh, nice. That's I like that you said that you didn't really come from a technology or technical standpoint. I'm exactly the same. It was actually the book, The Fourth Turning, that started to get me to think it's nothing to do with Bitcoin, but
Mm-hmm.
it's how society goes in cycles. I don't know if you've read The Fourth Turning.
Not yet,
Amazing
not yet.
book.
Interesting.
But I think that's a misconception by a lot of people, is that you need to be technical coming into Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whereas reality is just you need to keep things simple, and
Yeah,
it's a form of money. And everyone uses this analogy, but it's like you use your car every day, but do you
exactly.
know exactly how that operates and how internal combustion engine works? Like, I have no idea,
Right.
but you don't have to know the ins and outs of what Bitcoin is to actually use it. That's the beauty of
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm. And that's a strange thing about money as well. Everyone uses money. Money is basically the backbone or the base layer of our society, of our global economy. But no one knows how it works, and that's actually a bit dangerous. If money works, then it's fine. You don't need to know how it works. But if it stops working, like it is now,
Yeah.
like the financial system is broken, and it drives a lot of people into poverty, like it causes a lot of wars, causes a lot of problems, then it's not good. Like people should start to understand a bit more how it works, and then they would see the problem, and then hopefully they will also understand the solution to it, which is Bitcoin, quickly. But yeah, it becomes I agree, no one actually needs to know how exactly Bitcoin works, but they need to know that it is a solution, and that other systems have a lot of problems. So a bit of understanding is important, and that's why we are working at Relay, and you obviously at Bitcoin
Yeah.
Collective as well, to educate more people about this.
Yeah. 100%. Because it's, I feel like we as a society have just ignored finance and money over the last few years, like education wise,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't get taught in the way that I'm sure you agree, the way that we would
Mhm.
like it in schools. So thinking of that, do you think we are kind of like waking up now, becoming more critical thinking when it comes to money? People are seeing that there is a problem here, and I need to figure out what is the problem, because you can't put a solution in front of someone unless they don't know what a problem or what problem is going on. So do you think we're kind of like at that turning point now where people are trying to educate themselves on
Mhm.
how does the system actually work?
Exactly. I think so. Because of what everything that is happening right now just shows the normal person on the street that something is really fucking wrong, right? But for a long time, it they didn't, and that's, I think, why society has kind of forgotten or dismissed to understand what money is, because it worked for a long time. It worked for decades now, even though the system was already broken. But at least it worked for day to day, for people. So before the 70s, there was a gold standard which worked quite fine. I mean, obviously there was the wars and hyperinflation because of that, but in normal times, at least it worked. And then there was the gold standard was abolished, and since then it still worked because just the expansion was at a scale where it was manageable, the money expansion. So it fueled growth, and for normal people, they just made money. And yes, the inflation was high sometimes, like in the 80s it was as high as it is now, like 8% in the EU, but at least the interest rates were also high. They were 9 to 10%. So net, this all worked. People could save money, and they kept their purchasing power, and inflation was controlled. But now, like, inflation is just going through the roof. Interest rates are still way too low, and they can't be increased, because then this would be just destructive to the economy. But if they are not increased, then the inflation turns into hyperinflation, which both is very bad for people. Either they lose their jobs, or their money has no worth, no value anymore. Both is bad, but it's going to be, and it's actually developing right now, that either this or that. And that's together, combined with the banking failures that we are now seeing, the start of the banking crisis from the US, Silicon Valley Bank, Silvergate, and all these others. And then now we see the contagion also to Switzerland with Credit Suisse failed miserably. Like one of the top 30 banks in the world failed miserably. It was kind of saved by the UBS and the government, but it was a really tricky situation. And now Deutsche Bank and other German banks and other banks in Europe, I think more than 200 banks globally are affected. And like, we can only imagine what these contagion effects will look like. So people now wake up to the fact that central banks are actually destroying the value of your money by inflating it. So your money is worth less and less every year. Plus, banks hold your money, and they don't do this responsibly. So it's not actually your money, and you never know when the system fails and you can't get hold of your money anymore. So these two facts really they were known by experts for a long time, or just people that are interested in finance and technology and try to get their head around this. It was known by most of the people for many people for a long time. For example, also the Bitcoin community, it was really aware of this for years now. But now I think it's really the point where the broad masses learn about this. And I think this will also be the time when these broad masses start learning about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is one of the solutions to it, or maybe almost the only solution.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think it's a mass wake-up call to what fractional reserve banking is. And a lot of people are realizing, like, shit, the money in the bank actually isn't mine. The banks hold it's something like 6%. And I think that could be or it's looking like that's a segue into Bitcoin for a lot of people, is that they're realizing that this current system, like, they don't own and it can get taken away from them. And if you look at Elon Long's doing with Custodia, where they actually back all the assets or all the money, the depositors, sorry. Right, I'm gonna segue into one of your recent tweets, and we're gonna talk about that a little. So you tweeted out, I think it was yesterday. It was, our fiat-based financial system is governed by old, senile people. Biden is 80 years old, which I didn't realize he was quite that old. Yellen's 76, Powell's 70, and Lagarde is 67. They should all retire. And I'm right with you, 100%. It seems to be the younger generation that understand this. But at the same time, when you look at the difference, I want to get your opinion on this, the difference between Bitcoin and crypto, I'm seeing a lot of younger people in crypto, maybe not with the understanding of how finance works, and it's more this is a way to make me rich. Whereas you've got some brilliant minds and maybe ex hedge fund managers, ex bankers, people that understand the old system and why we need to move to a new system in Bitcoin. Are you seeing roughly the same?
Yeah, so first of all, it drives me nuts, this exact, and I also didn't really know how old they are. I knew that these people that are ruling the financial world are old, but I also didn't know that Biden is 80. He is 80 years old. He
and
can
he's
barely
running
walk.
Yeah, and he is running the most powerful country in the world with the most powerful currency in the world. Well,
Yeah.
probably second after Bitcoin, but
yeah. And like Powell and all these people, they are like, in Switzerland, at least, I think in most countries, the retirement age is 65.
Yeah.
And from 50 or 55 years old, it already gets hard to find a job, because for most jobs, you're just, sorry, but it's just too old. Like your brain doesn't work as when you are 30. This is just normal, you know, it's fine. It's nothing against aged people. They're great, but they cannot be super productive parts of the economy anymore. And then you have, so usually retirement, you know, 65, and then you enjoy your life, and, you know, and don't have big responsibilities anymore, because you're also not made for it anymore. But these guys are all like so old. They are probably starting to become senile. They have some, you know, cognitive disadvantages for sure. Why are they running the country and the world, and not a bit younger people? I'm not saying the 20-year-olds, the millennials, need to run it, but at least people that are still sane in their brain, you know, and still have some sort of connection to the younger generations, and not like our grandpas. My grandpa is 77, and he had a great life. He achieved a lot, but he can't even drive a car anymore now. And this
imagine him running Switzerland.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just wrong. It's just very wrong. But the other thing that you said is also something I see, is that younger people, they are not all about, but more about crypto, because they are millennials and Gen Zs. And if you ask them in surveys, I think 70% or 80% of millennials expect to become millionaires in their lives, which is obviously not going to happen. But they want it. They want to be millionaires. They want to be rich. You know, they see all these Dubai influencers on Instagram and whatever. It's really a generation that desires to become exceptional and become rich. That, coupled with them seeing the financial system deteriorate, like they can't just save money, like work hard, make a lot of money, and save it. This doesn't work anymore in a time where inflation is so high and wages are not higher, and so forth. And they see all these crises, and, you know, they need to find creative ways how to make a lot of money fast. That's kind of this generation's thing. And obviously crypto plays right into this. If you see that you could buy Shiba Inu coin at the right timing, then 1,000 exit a couple of weeks later, if you see this, then you think, wow, why would I just stack sats, or why would I have a savings plan to my bank account or whatever, or some ETF if I can be rich that fast? And that's unfortunately the mindset that younger people have now. But I think also they are waking up to the fact that not only the fiat financial system is broken, but also crypto is broken, because it's just there's some innovation, maybe some interesting tech startups, but they are venture bet investings at the most positive end, and on the most negative ends, they're just pure scams and Ponzi schemes. And so they are also finding out that there's way more risk than benefit to gain out of this. And so I also think that not only the fiat financial based people or investors and the crypto kind of degen investors, both of them will convert into Bitcoiners pretty soon, because they'll find out that this is a way you can make money trading or long, like you can preserve and enhance your purchasing power on the long run with investing. And you can, and it's a way to save your money on the long run, which with the other two systems mentioned is going to be very hard in the future.
Yeah. And I saw that you were part of was it a conference, the Money Mastery 23?
Yeah, this was yesterday. I had a presentation there. It's a conference about. So I think it's like a seminar, a 2-day, 1 weekend seminar where mostly Gen Z and millennials take part, and it's paid, so they pay for it to get financial education, and it starts with like saving. It's a personal finance things, how to invest. More details into what are ETFs and stocks and all the different asset classes. So in that part, I did get a session about Bitcoin.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's what going back to looking at the problem rather than touching on the solution straight away, is having these seminars and events that teach people about money. And it's just money. It's not going full whack. Here's Bitcoin. You need to learn about it. Read these 20 books. It's more, this is the problem. And once you figure that out, you kind of want to look for a solution. So I'm going to pick up on one of your other tweets, and I want you to talk through this. It was the 72 rule. Because I found this really interesting, the way that you'd spun it to look at inflation. So for the listeners, could you just give a quick summary of how you went about this?
Of course. I also only just learned about the 72 rule, and I think everyone should know about it. It's from I learned about it in preparation to this event, and it was part of my presentation there. So the 72 rule is an equation. It comes from the traditional investment theory, and it basically is used to if you have to determine how long it takes with an average return on investment per year, or with like some sort of a return, can be interest rate, for example, in percentage per year. How long does it take me to double my first investment or first wealth that I have? So imagine you have 50K to invest today. And then you want to know, okay, how long does it take me with an average yearly return until I can double this and have 100K? Okay, and there's a very simple equation for that. It's just 72 divided by this return, and then you get the years until you double it. So and I think they also said this yesterday, that the yearly return on average, I think the last 100 years on the stock market is 7.2% per year. So that's actually very nice, because 72 divided by 7.2% is 10. So it takes you 10 years to double your money. Cool. Now, this also works exactly the other way around with inflation instead of return. And then it tells you how long it takes for you to cut your money in half if this goes on like this. Okay, so an example is if you have in Germany, for example, right now, I think it's 8.5%. If this stays like this for the next 10 years, then you divide 72 divided by 8.5% is, I think, 9 years. So it takes you 9 years to halve your investment or your money. So you have 50K on your bank account now in Germany. 10 years later, you have less than half of it. I mean, you still have the 50K, but it doesn't buy you anything anymore. If it buys you a new BMW today, it's going to buy you maybe a Mini, probably more like a Fiat or a Suzuki or whatever in 10 years. And that's how inflation works. And that's something that is truly fascinating in a negative way, how our money is just losing value every day.
Yeah, I love that you'd put that spin on it to show, because as I talked about, like relatability, that's relatable to people, and they can see that, like, that is their money getting eaten away, or their purchasing power getting eaten away, because they still got that 50,000. So I done the sum for the UK, and we're currently at 10.4%.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And we're putting interest rates up, but our inflation is still going up as well. So we're in the shit at the moment, is the only way you can put it.
Damn.
But so it's 6.9 years for the UK. And I was like, this is crazy. I mean, this is nothing compared to, I didn't do the sum for Argentina or Venezuela.
Yeah.
That would be, I don't even know, months, days, maybe.
You know what? On the same slide, I think I posted it. I have the inflation rates, and I think Argentina is something around 75%. So just on top of my head, is probably 1 year. 72 divided by 75 is 1 year. It's less than a year. It's so in 1 year you cut your savings in half. Imagine, this is fucking nuts.
It's not. And why are people not scared about this? Why is this not like a well-known thing? So like doing it this way, I love this. So I'll put it in the show notes. I'll to what you tweeted out, so everyone can actually see it and visualize it as well, because I think that's important to be able to visualize it. But yeah, it's just I couldn't believe it when you put that up.
I don't know why people are not more scared about it, to be honest. I'm super scared about it. And I just feel like fortunately I have found a solution with Bitcoin. But most people, I think, are just in the dark of it, you know? We are people that are really interested in reading tweets and content about this every day. But most people out there just don't care really about finance. They just want money that works, and they expect it to work because it used to work for decades now. But now all of a sudden it doesn't anymore. But they are living their lives. They have their families. They have their jobs, and it shouldn't be also their responsibility to really understand this. You know, I have my favorite kebab shop here close to where I live now, and I live in the same town that I used to do my gymnasium. So before you go to studies, you do gymnasium. It was 10 years ago, probably more. Yeah, like around about 10 years ago when I did this. And I also already then went to this same kebab shop. And now for 2 years or 3 years, I live in the same city again, and I still go to the same kebab shop. I still love it. And it is still the same price. One kebab, it's exactly the same kebab, exactly the same. Perfect. And it's still the same price. A small one is $8 and a big one is $10. Whereas all the other kebab stops, most of them, they went up to like 14 for a small one, 16 for a big one or something. So they almost doubled their prices, which obviously is rational because you had 10 years of inflation. They just don't understand this, you know, they don't think about this, but and many people are like that.
That's funny. I would have thought, or I would have expected them to put up the prices, or at least what other people are doing is shrinkflation. So they're making it smaller. So making halving the amount of kebab that's in it. So I mean, it's nice to see places like that trying to give value to people, the same value to people, but at the same time, you are losing money over time by not keeping up with the inflation. And
Exactly. It's bad for them, and it's really just a testament to most of the people that have normal jobs just don't understand that they need to do this, that they need to adjust prices and everything.
yeah, and we this week, I can't remember what the headline was, but it was I can't remember his name. He's the chairman of the bank, the central bank, so the Bank of England, and he came out telling firms, like large firms, to stop putting up your prices, um, because we can't get inflation under control if you keep putting your prices up. And it's just like you can just see that that's just going to be a constant loop. And for him to come out and say that, I was like, it's not going to help. It's
No,
not. You're just going to make things worse now.
and it's not how it's supposed to be. There's something
Yeah,
called free market.
yeah.
Central banks don't have to tell, they're not in the position to tell businesses and entrepreneurs whether they should put their prices up or down. They they should just, they would be responsible for price stability and for the money expansion is under control and everything. But they obviously, very obviously, they have lost track completely and they have lost control completely. So might as well want to put probably money into a free market system like Bitcoin. I think it would work better on the long run. But that's what we're seeing now, I think, with them fucking up big time. I mean, some kind of hyperinflation is coming. A couple of years back, plus 10% inflation in an developed country like the UK, which is, by the way, one of the biggest country which was actually the reserve currency. We would have never, a couple of years ago, we would have never even imagined 10% plus inflation rates for such a country. And now it's here and it looks like it's getting worse. It can be quick that we will have the same inflation rates like Argentina, Turkey, Nigeria, and so forth, also in Europe. And that's also what freaks me out. I mean, it's going to be good for Bitcoin, but it's going to be almost disastrous, maybe, for our society here.
So yeah, all right, let's just move on to Relay then, and let's talk about Relay. My
Cool.
first question is, where did you get the name from? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so Relay, we thought about this device that you have in electric systems where that puts takes a lot of small signals and makes a big one out of it. So that's kind of the idea behind it, as you should look at savings in Bitcoin or stacking sats, is that you put small signal every week, like a little bit of your money aside, and then in the end you end up with a big amount of savings. That's kind of was the idea behind it, but honestly it was not super sophisticated, or we didn't really elaborate on it for weeks or whatever. It was just how do we call this thing, we want to get started, and we thought small savings into a big thing has something to do with energy, financial energy and stuff like that. But yeah, I need to maybe
Nice.
find
I
a
like
better
that.
explanation for that, or even a better name at
No,
one point.
I like it. And I think a lot of people think when you're starting a business that you put like, I mean, you do put hours and hours into thinking about the name, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like with us, Bitcoin Collective, we were like, okay, we're trying to drive Bitcoin as one and like bring the community to drive as one. Collective, Bitcoin, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah,
That's kind
exactly.
of how it goes.
Of course, I
Uh,
mean, and in the end, it doesn't matter that much how it's called. It matters how it is branded. In the end, like what do people associate with this brand is much more important than what the brand is. I mean, look at Apple. It's literally called Apple. It's a fruit. But now I think if someone hears the word Apple, they rather think about a smartphone than than a fruit, right? So it's really a matter. It's not necessarily important how a company is called. It's more like what you do about it and how you brand it. And I think Relay in Europe is at this point viewed or associated with the most well-known and biggest and most successful Bitcoin only on ramp to exchange your fiat into Bitcoin, and that's obviously exactly what we wanted to achieve.
Yeah, nice. I was going to get you to summarize what you do, but you've just done that perfectly there. So congrats is what I want to say on raising, was it $4.5 million?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
How does that feel?
Yeah, thank you. Feels great. And Jeff Booth, that you obviously, who you obviously know, together with his VC fund, Ego Death, they were the lead investor in that, together with a lot of other great VC investors and also a couple of angel investors. So yeah, it went out great. Really, really happy about it, and it showed that. As said, our concept, and I can say maybe one or two sentences about what we do, as you wanted to ask
Yeah,
before,
please.
is like, so Relay is just the easiest way how you can buy Bitcoin in Europe. It literally takes you 1 minute to download a mobile app, and from $10 already, 24/7, and instantly you can buy Bitcoin and get it right into your own custody. So Relay is a broker where you can exchange fiat to Bitcoin, but it's also a wallet, so you actually directly hold your Bitcoin, which is super important because that is the thing that allows you to take control of your financial future, right? And it does this in a cheap way as well. And you can not only buy and sell, you can also send and receive Bitcoin with this wallet, and you can set up a savings plan, which is what 60% of our users do. Is they set up a recurring DCA with their bank, like a standing order with their bank or with their credit card, and then every week they get a couple of sats for these 50 or $100 or whatever they want to spend into their own wallet. And so this kind of concept made us probably the biggest player, biggest Bitcoin on-ramp in Europe, and also allowed us to attract all these interest from international investors like Jeff Booth and Ego Death Capital and Time Chain, Cabrit Capital, Lightning Ventures, Fulgur Ventures, and all these and Red Alpine Ventures, obviously. So all these quite renowned VC investors in the Bitcoin space, but also in the general and fintech space. So that makes me super proud. Yeah,
It must be nice knowing you've got the backing of so many well-known and great voices in Bitcoin. Because I think that, or from my side, that's what makes you unique, because I can't, as far as I'm aware, in the UK, I can't buy Bitcoin, like DCA it automatically, that then it goes straight into a non-custodial wallet. At the moment, I'm buying it, it's going into custodial, and then I'm having to move it out. I don't know if that's just me not using it, but to have that is, it just makes it so much easier, because it takes a step out of the process for people. And we're trying to make it relatable. We're trying to make it easier for people to use and interact with Bitcoin. So to be able to buy it and secure it, I think is, phenomenal.
Exactly. And one perk that also comes out of it, I didn't even mention it, is that with us, you don't need to do any onboarding, any KYC, AML, registration, nothing. You don't even have to give us your name or your ID or proof of address verification. You don't need to upload any documents, nothing. You can literally download the app and start. You can buy your first $10 Bitcoin within a minute, and you get it straight into your own custody. That's why, it has to do with Swiss regulation, because up to 1K per day and 100K per year, this is how it's done in Switzerland without any verification. And it's also enabled through us not having custody and not making investment decisions on behalf of the customer. So we're not regulated as a bank or as a financial advisor. We're just a broker. We're just doing money exchange. We never hold the money on behalf of the customer. That's why we're way less regulated and can be less restrictive. And so it's also, from my knowledge, we are the only ones that have kind of played on this concept of buying Bitcoin directly into non-custodial and therefore being less regulated and having to do less of the whole KYC, AML, registration, verification, onboarding kind of crap.
Yeah. So do you think you'll be coming to UK markets anytime soon?
We are operational in whole Europe. So we have customers from 40 different countries, and UK is one of them. So we have quite some users from the UK already. Should be able to use us.
I should use. All right, I went to try and download the app, and it said I couldn't do it in my country.
So the thing is, right now we have a bit of a problem with Apple. So I think 3 or 4 days ago, they delisted our app out of nothing. We have more than 100,000 app downloads on Apple alone, and even a bit more on Google Play Store. Google Play Store is still fine, and Apple just out of nothing delisted our app. I don't know what the hell is going on. So the users, the people that have downloaded the app until recently, they can still use it. It's all good. But the problem is now new users cannot download the app on the Apple Store right now. Google Play Store is still fine, and with Apple, we're sorting it out and trying to be back as soon as possible.
Okay, that's good.
But you should be able to use it. So we have a couple of thousand users from the UK already. Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited. When Apple get their shit together.
Yeah.
So what's the? I'm conscious of time. We've got 5 minutes. What's the roadmap from now for Relai? You've got this pot of money, what you can do with it?
Yeah, so first thing we want to do this year is to lower the fees and actually get a small portion to be able for free. So everyone should be able to buy a small amount every month for free, just to try out the app, and for the people that really have only a little bit to spare, that they can do this absolutely without any transaction fees. We also, in kind of the mindset of bringing more people in, helping more people to find out how it works to buy Bitcoin, to hold Bitcoin, and like the democratic thinking of everyone should be having access to the best savings technology, even if you barely have anything to save. If you have $10 to save per month, then you should do it, and you can do it for free soon on Relai. So that's the first big new feature that's coming up, and then we are working on a white label solution. So our API should be used by other businesses as well. Right now, we are strong in kind of the retail market. So retail investors, individual investors, from small to very big, can use us. So also Relai Private, for example, these are people that want to invest 100K or more into Bitcoin. They can only use us. We have specialists, account managers that help you with this. And also, just recently we started Relai Business. So also companies, SMEs, for example, or associations or foundations, just organizations, not private individuals, but organizations can now also very easily buy Bitcoin with us and put some Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And now what we want to go live with this year is this API that enables other businesses to sell Bitcoin to their or make it possible for their customers to buy and sell Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin themselves. So it will be a broker, but also a wallet API. So imagine, any app basically can integrate the way of buying and selling Bitcoin and an own wallet as well, with a very easy integration through our API. So this way we would be live with B2C customer segment, B2B, and then also B2B2C.
Wow.
Last but not least, I know it's ambitious, not quite 100% 100% sure if we can get it done this year, but the goal would be that by the end of the year, we will also go live with Lightning. So we'll finally do the Lightning upgrade so that people can buy and sell and obviously send and receive all their Bitcoin all through Lightning.
Oh, wow. That's quite the roadmap you've got.
We're doing our best.
Yeah, no, that's amazing to see. Yeah, I'm excited to get it and yeah, start using it really.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. It's been amazing talking to you. And yeah, is there anything that I've missed that you wanted to talk about before we wrap things up?
I think all good. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about Bitcoin and Relay, and I really appreciate it as well, Jordan. Thank you. And maybe one thing that could be interesting for your audience, and we can maybe also put a link in the show note, is that everyone can join the Relay extended team. We call it Relay Squad. So if you think what we are doing is cool, and if it aligns with your mission, and you want to orange pill more people, then you can join the squad, the Relay Squad. If you just Google it, there's a link where you can apply. Get in touch with Arsen from our team, and then he can set you up. You will get the opportunity to join conferences in our name. You will get merch, stickers, hoodies, and so you will also get free trading on Relay. We won't give you any, we're not able to pay any salaries here, but you can kind of get close to the team and help us, achieve hyper Bitcoinization soon with orange pilling as many people as possible. And we kind of support in any way we can. We already have, I think, 21 people in the squad now, and we're getting up to 100 people by the end of this year. So if you're interested in that, please shoot us a message and maybe join the squad soon.
Awesome, man. Right. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. That would be great. Looking forward to it. Thanks for your time,
Awesome.
Jordan.